Pretty remarkable story. I'd like my kid to have that man for a teacher. My goodness, that is lucky kids. Here to introduce Bill George is Tad Piper. Tad is a retired chairman and CEO of Piper Jaffray. Please welcome Tad to the stage.
Thanks, Frank, very much. By the way, we don't really look like Pink Floyd people, do we? A little bit. Well, Bill, thank you for the honor of being able to introduce you. All of us have wonderful things that happen in our lives, and one of the really important ones for Cindy and I is our wonderful friendship we've had for 40 plus years with you and Penny. Really have loved it. You're a loyal, generous, caring friend. Bill's had the opportunity to get many honors, and as you saw in the video, there's great reason why that's the case. But he's a sports fan, and actually, I don't think he's in any other Hall of Fames. And Hall of Fame is really a big deal, Bill. So you're going to get this Hall of Fame award very soon here. Bill's career is well highlighted in the video. I thought it did a great job, frankly, of talking about him and his values and so forth. He started right out of Harvard Business School as one of Defense Secretary McNamara's whiz kids, and then went on to become, moved to Minneapolis and become president of Litton Microwave. That's a long time ago, and it was really the infancy of the Litton the infancy of the microwave business itself, and I think you were like 12 at the time, Bill. And went on to have very distinguished careers with Honeywell and Medtronic, which was well highlighted in the video, and ultimately as a very skilled professor at Harvard Business School. I had a chance to teach with him on a couple of occasions and really enjoyed it, and particularly enjoyed watching his interactions with his students, who really enjoyed the opportunity to interact with this incredible guy who's had a brilliant, thoughtful, driven person, creative, thinks big, does big, takes on tough assignments. Like, who would want to be the head of the compensation committee at Goldman Sachs? His notion of does big extends to his board service, which includes Valstar, Goldman, Target, Novartis, ExxonMobil, the Mayo Clinic, each a huge industry leader who no doubt had really benefited from Bill's participation and wisdom. My observation of Bill's personal priorities is that he cares about three things, and not necessarily in this order. First, what he does, and that came out very well in the video. This is a mission-driven guy. I remember, Bill, your excitement when you were talking about the opportunity to go to Medtronic and something that really fit the contribution you thought you could make in your life and in this world. And now in your post-professional life, the interaction you have with young people, not just at Harvard, but through many opportunities, something you take seriously and frankly, we're all going to benefit from in the future. Second, how he does it. A guy of the highest ethical standards. He sets high expectations for himself and everybody else around him, and a true believer that financial rewards will follow a successful execution of a meaningful mission. And lastly, who he does it with. His life partner and wife, Penny, has been a blessing to him, and throughout his entire career, they raised two wonderful children. They have established a foundation that is doing really important work in a variety of fields. He had great business partners. I look around the room and I see Doug Baker, who was an early partner at way back in the Litton days, and they've been friends ever since. Bill talks fondly about the mentorship that Ed Spencer offered to him the time that he was in Honeywell, and then certainly Win Wallen at Medtronic as well, and in particular his longtime and highly valued business partner, Dr. Glenn Nelson, and Marilyn's here with us, as you know. So Bill, congratulations on a life very well served. You're in the Hall of Fame, baby. Come on up.
Thank you, Ted. What a great friend you are for many, many years. I'm really humbled by this honor. It's a great thrill, and it's given me a chance to reflect on our time in Minnesota. We came here, Penny and I came here in 1970 for a year, and I think it was when we arrived, it was 28 degrees below zero in January, and somehow we're still here in spite of 3 years in Belgium, a year and a half in Switzerland, and now teaching at Harvard. We've really never left, and I don't think we ever will leave, which I sure hope we don't, because Minnesota has been really wonderful to us. This is an amazing community, amazing business community, amazing healthcare community, amazing academic community, government, and nonprofit organization where everyone works together. And also, it's a community that reaches out. We weren't sure coming, we didn't know a soul in Minnesota when we arrived, and yet we've met some wonderful people that become lifelong friends. Many of them are sitting down at this table right here, Doug and Carol Baker, that Tad mentioned, Bob and Polly McCrae, Tad and Cindy Piper, our good friend Marilyn Nelson, Steve Rothschild, and 8 of us at this table have formed a couples group that in 1983, when we came back from Belgium, we've met every month and we've traveled all over the world. We met just recently, a couple weeks ago in Colorado. We've traveled to Switzerland a number of times, to Norway, to Israel, to France, and it's just been wonderful to have lifelong friends. It means so much to us, and we could never leave this community, nor would we, for that reason. And so it's been a great thrill for me to come here as a young person and have the opportunity through 3 companies at Litton Microwave to try to get started on a consumer microwave oven business when they didn't exist, and have the chance to work at a great company like Honeywell for 10 years, and then finally hearing the call at Medtronic and realizing this is a place where I should be. And what a great privilege it was to work with a company that Earl Bakken founded. And it's interesting that today the company's grown from what Earl founded with himself and his brother-in-law, and I came in, there were about 4,000 employees. Today there are 85,000 employees, and yet the company has never wavered one iota from that original mission that Earl wrote back in 1960 when the company was essentially bankrupt, but Earl was too proud to admit it. And one of his board members, Tom Holler, and said, "Earl, what business are you in?" And so they sent him back, and he wrote the now famous mission of Medtronic that the current CEO, Omar Ishrak of Medtronic, has carried that on like it's, if you will, his Bible, the most important thing to him. And we have a nice group of friends here from Medtronic, but Medtronic has carried on that mission, and I think that's one of the things that's allowed the company to survive difficult times and come out and continue to grow and prosper and to focus on what really matters. And I found out earlier tonight what really matters. A woman named Nancy Anderson, who's just come up here from Chicago, came up to tell me a very moving story about her son who had juvenile diabetes, diagnosed at 5 years old, just graduated from the University of Chicago. He's on his way to law school. And that's one because of an acquisition we made in the late 1990s, and 2001 concluded. And the fact that one person like that, their life makes a difference. And I think that's one of the great things I look back is having an opportunity to really help other people. Ted mentioned Marilyn Nelson, whose partner, her husband was my partner, Glenn Nelson, who brought us so much of the technology at Medtronic, who passed away a year ago, and having people that are so committed to the lives of people. And it's been my privilege for the last 5.5 years to serve on the Mayo board, and Dr. John Noseworthy and a whole team from Mayo are here. And what an amazing organization to think it's right here in Minnesota, the world's greatest healthcare organization. I've had the privilege of visiting healthcare organizations all over the world, and we've got some great ones in this community, at the university, at Allina, at Health Partners. But you know, there's nothing in the world like the Mayo Clinic that is as true today to its value as it was when Dr. Will and Dr. Charlie Mayo founded the place, and it's just as committed to patients as it ever was. And I think if we can all keep that in mind as we go through great turmoil and change in the world, how important that is, that we stay true to what we really believe in, that sense of purpose, that commitment of every single employee to helping other people, whatever our work was. Chris being in the grocery business, the food business, do we have that commitment to helping people make a difference in their lives? And if we can devote our lives to doing that, what a great privilege. What could be better than doing that? What a better way to spend your life, and something you can look back on. And the thing about this community, I think we've got the finest group of business leaders you've ever had in this community. I thank Twin Cities Business for bringing us together, because this is a community that welcomes people and brings them together and integrates with all aspects of the community, the nonprofit community, the arts community, the education community. And there's a group called Itasca where people get together and say, how can we make this community better? What can we do to create more jobs, better education, and keep it going? And I feel sad as I look around at other states and other communities that don't have this vibrancy and this consistency, the ethics of this community. You really have not seen any of our Minnesota companies really get in big ethical trouble, unlike a lot of companies that I study at Harvard around the rest of the country. And I think because there's this fabric, this mosaic, if you will, that brings us together. I've had the privilege of working with folks at the Guthrie Theater, Director Joe Hodge, who came in 2 years ago in a year and a half and is totally transforming the Guthrie Theater into what had always been its legacy, being the finest regional theater in the United States and maybe the finest theater. And it's that fabric that we can think together about what makes a good life, what makes quality of life in a community. Why do we stay here in spite of cold winters and high taxes? What keeps us here? And I think in the end what keeps us here is this sense of community and the sense of real meaning in our lives, and that we have richer, warmer lives because of the people we have the privilege of interacting with every day in our community. And it's just been my great privilege to have the opportunity to interact, to get to know so many of you who have been lifelong friends, and that means more to me than anything. My wife Penny couldn't be here because she's in Colorado with 4 grandchildren. She's solely responsible for it tonight. And so I left her to come here, and she's been my greatest counselor throughout all these years and the wise person that kind of keeps me focused in the right way. But I want to thank all of you for making this community and coming out tonight to making this community what it is and keeping it going and passing that on to the next generation the same way that Tad Piper's father helped me, and people like Ken Dayton and Jim McFarland at General Mills helped. We can help the next generation carry on and keep this community being the great community it is, and being that shining light on the hill for the rest of the country and the rest of the world. So I want to thank you all for this award. I am deeply humbled and deeply honored. Thank you very much.